Across the world, in the most remote and dangerous places on Earth, Bigfoot roams the Pacific Northwest forests. For centuries, indigenous peoples have spoken of these beings. Modern explorers have hunted them relentlessly. Yet not a single skeleton has ever been found. Not a single captured specimen. Not a single piece of DNA. And yet, the sightings never stop. The evidence keeps emerging, and the mystery deepens. High in the Himalayas, above 10,000 feet, local Sherpa people have told stories for generations of the Mato Kangmi, the filthy snowman. The Yeti, a creature standing 7 to 10 feet tall, covered in reddish-brown hair, with an ape-like face and human-like posture. Local legends describe it as intelligent, elusive, and territorial. It leaves tracks in the snow. It raids villages for food. It watches from the peaks at night. For the Sherpa people, the Yeti wasn't a legend. It was a reality, a neighbor, a threat, a mystery to respect and avoid. But Western explorers dismissed it as folklore. Until 1921, when a British climbing expedition reported finding enormous footprints at 21,000 feet. Footprints in the snow that couldn't be explained. The Western world became obsessed. Thousands of miles away, in the remote forests of the Pacific Northwest British Columbia, Washington, Oregon, and Northern California, another legend stirred. Indigenous tribes spoke of Sasquatch, the wild man of the forest, a massive, intelligent creature that left enormous footprints in the mud and avoided human contact at all costs. Settlers reported encounters. Hikers vanished without explanation. By the 1950s, a construction worker named Ray Wallace found a series of 16-inch footprints near a bulldozer on a forest road. The modern Bigfoot hunt began. By the 1960s, over 500 sightings had been documented. The creature seemed to prefer the darkness, the remote places, the deep forest where humans rarely ventured. On October 20th, 1967, in Northern California, filmmakers Roger Patterson and Robert Gimlin captured 60 seconds of footage that would define Bigfoot research for decades. The Patterson-Gimlin film showed a massive creature, estimated 7 to 8 feet tall, walking upright through a forest clearing. Its gait was distinctly humanoid, its stride deliberate. Its arms hung at its sides. The hair covered its entire body. For believers, it was definitive proof. For skeptics, it was a man in a suit. Experts have debated this footage for over 50 years. Gait analysis experts argued no human could move like that. Costume designers argued the technology of the 1960s was sufficient to create the illusion. The debate rages on. Meanwhile, footprint evidence continued to emerge. Over 2,000 documented Bigfoot footprints, some measuring 18 inches long. Some showing bizarre anatomical features, 5 toes with unusual spacing, ridged patterns on the soles never seen in human feet. Yet no skeletons, no bones, nothing but prints and blurry film. In 1958, a Sherpa monastery in Nepal produced a startling artifact. A British explorer obtained samples and brought them to Western laboratories for DNA analysis. In 1960, scientists examined the hair and concluded, not a primate, not an unknown creature, just a goat-like animal. Yet the Sherpa insisted it came from the Yeti. Did they mistake the Yeti for a Siro? Or was the artifact deliberately misidentified to contain the sacred relic? In 2011, a Yeti finger bone from another Himalayan monastery was tested. Same result. Animal, not ape. Yet sightings continued. The physical evidence contradicted the eyewitness accounts. What makes the footprints so compelling is their consistency. Over decades, across continents, witnesses have reported identical measurements and characteristics. 16 to 18-inch length, 4 to 5-inch width, 5 toes with unusual spacing, ridge patterns consistent with primates, yet anatomically impossible for known species. Dr. Grover Krantz, a renowned primatologist, spent decades analyzing Bigfoot footprints. He documented over 500 castings. He argued the anatomy was too consistent, too anatomically sound to be human footprints in ape suits or human hoaxes. Yet critics countered that any clever hoaxer could study primate anatomy and create consistent fake prints. The problem? If these prints are hoaxes, they represent an organized multi-decade, multi-continent conspiracy involving thousands of people all to create elaborate false evidence. Is that more believable than an unknown creature existing? In recent years, modern DNA analysis has provided shocking results. In 2012, a comprehensive DNA study of alleged Bigfoot hair samples was conducted. 90% matched known animals: deer, bears, horses, elk. But some samples were inconclusive. A few matched primate DNA, specifically ancient human DNA. Were these Bigfoot samples just contaminated human hair from researchers handling the evidence? Or were they evidence of an undiscovered primate hybrid? In 2021, Oxford geneticist Professor Brian Sykes analyzed hair samples claimed to be from Yeti. His conclusion: most were bears or other known animals. But he acknowledged, absence of evidence is not evidence of absence. If a creature exists in extremely low numbers, spread across vast wilderness areas, collecting DNA samples would be nearly impossible. The DNA studies haven't definitively disproven Bigfoot or the Yeti, they've just failed to prove them. What keeps the legend alive is testimony. Thousands of credible witnesses, hunters, loggers, hikers, park rangers, have reported encounters. Many are educated individuals with no reason to fabricate stories. They describe remarkably consistent details: massive size, intelligent behavior, extreme elusiveness, bipedal locomotion, and an almost supernatural ability to avoid detection. One witness, a wildlife biologist, reported being followed for 3 days by a Bigfoot during a forest survey. Another, a former military officer, described locking eyes with a Yeti at 18,000 feet and feeling an overwhelming sense of intelligent presence. Some witnesses report hearing complex vocalizations, not animal sounds, not human speech, but something in between. Are these witnesses experiencing genuine encounters? Misidentifying bears? Suffering from mass delusion? Skeptics offer straightforward explanations. The footprints? Humans in specialized shoes, or bears walking on hind legs with human-created impressions. The Patterson-Gimlin film? A man in a suit Robert Dapes has even demonstrated he can replicate the gait with simple costume technology. The witnesses? Misidentifying bears, especially grizzlies standing on hind legs, which can reach 9 to 10 feet tall. The Yeti scalp? Confirmed animal remains from known species. The vocalizations? Bear calls, wolf howls, or human-made sounds distorted by forest acoustics. The DNA? Contaminated samples or misidentified animal hair. For skeptics, there's a parsimonious explanation for every piece of evidence. The problem: skeptical explanations require simultaneous acceptance that thousands of witnesses are either lying or delusional, that elaborate hoaxes span centuries across isolated cultures, and that no single piece of evidence, examined in isolation, proves anything.